Welcome back to another Rapid Fire Explainer. Today, we're zeroing right in on the PMMA weekly market report and future trends for the very first week of August 2026. Look, if you're anywhere in the procurement or strategy space, you already know that keeping your finger on the absolute pulse of the market is, well, it's totally vital. So let's skip the fluff and get right into the data.
Before we start throwing numbers around, I want to mention that all the data and insights we're unpacking today come directly from Polymer Bazaar. They have this absolute laser focus on price, prediction, and profit, which means they're tracking the metrics that actually drive your business decisions. You know, in the B2B polymer space, having a rock-solid intelligence partner isn't just some nice-to-have thing. It is literally what separates a highly profitable quarter from a total margin squeeze. So we're going to lean on their intelligence to figure out exactly what the market's doing this week.
Okay, let's dive into this crucial baseline metric. The PMMA feedstock MMA price is currently sitting at 11,000 RMB per metric ton. And honestly, this is the foundation of our entire discussion today. When you're looking at downstream pricing, everything basically flows downstream from this exact feedstock cost. 11,000 RMB is our anchor right now. It sets the baseline cost for production, and as we're about to see, this specific feedstock price is creating a pretty massive ripple effect across all the different regional markets right now.
So that 11,000 RMB baseline is creating some serious tension in the Chinese market. We're talking about a classic standoff here. On one side, we've got the traders. Because that feedstock price translates directly into higher upstream production costs for them, they are completely digging their heels in. They are in absolutely no mood to lower their asking prices. But then on the flip side, you have the buyers. They're looking at the broader macro environment and, well, they're remaining incredibly cautious, highly hesitant. So we're left with this fundamental stalemate. Sellers who simply can't afford to drop prices, facing off against buyers who are just refusing to bite. It's essentially a high-stakes game of chicken.
And this brilliantly illustrates how that broad market psychology translates directly into hard numbers over in the Indian bazaar. Spot prices, ex-GST, are moving within an incredibly tight range. Over in Mumbai, we're seeing quotes strictly between 215 and 218 rupees per kg. Up in Delhi, it's just a tiny bit higher, sitting right between 219 and 222 rupees per kg. That super narrow spread actually tells us everything we need to know right now. The market is just moving sideways, nobody's willing to make a major move. That exact tension we just saw in the China market is keeping Indian spot prices completely locked in this holding pattern.
So let's look at how this builds into the overall buying pulse. Despite that standoff we just talked about, the market isn't entirely dead, actually. It's what Polymer Bazaar categorizes as slightly active. Now, you might be wondering, why the conflicting forces? Well, processors are executing purely need-based buying because downstream demand is just fundamentally weak right now. Nobody wants to be left holding excess inventory, right? But at the exact same time, there's actually lower import availability because of a bunch of vessel delays. So think about it. You've got weak demand pulling prices down, but supply chain hiccups keeping availability tight and propping prices back up. The net result of all this? Overall trading remains highly cautious. Everyone's basically just buying exactly what they need to keep the lights on and literally not announce more.
Which leads us to a really crucial point, captured perfectly in a definitive quote from the report. It says, weak demand might result in lower open bazaar prices, so we suggest need-based buying. And honestly, that right there is your strategic takeaway for the first week of August. The experts are looking at this weak downstream demand and forecasting that it might eventually overpower those vessel delays we talked about, which would lead to lower prices in the open bazaar. So the absolute best move right now, strictly according to the data, is to stay nimble. Don't overcommit yourself. Stick entirely to need-based purchasing until the market finally decides which way it's going to break.
You know, when the market is acting this cautious, waiting around for yesterday's news just isn't an option anymore. That's exactly where the Polymer Bazaar WhatsApp chatbot comes in. It's totally built to navigate this kind of environment, delivering real-time pricing, market revisions, forecasts, and even official company price lists. Instead of, hunting down emails or trying to log into a bunch of portals, this tool literally pushes the data to you in under 5 seconds. Having 24/7 access means you've got reliable market intelligence right in your pocket, anytime, anywhere. And that allows for some incredibly fast procurement pivots when things do shift.
Getting access to it is completely frictionless too. You just save the number +91 93746 24365, send a quick WhatsApp message with the code PBT, and you'll instantly start getting critical market data right on your phone. It really streamlines the whole process, so you're never caught off guard by a sudden price revision again. Oh, and if you have deeper inquiries or need some custom requests, you can also just shoot them an email at info@polymerbazaar.com for direct support.
Which brings us to the massive, million-dollar question hanging over the PMMA market right now. Will weak demand finally break the open bazaar prices?
I mean, traders are holding incredibly firm on their costs. Vessel delays are temporarily restricting the supply, but the buyers, they are strictly buying only what they need. Something has to give here. Will the buyer's patience eventually force the sellers to capitulate? Keep a really close eye on those spot ranges in Mumbai and Delhi, because for sure, they're going to be the very first to crack. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and hey, stay sharp out there in the bazaar.